Money and gifts she received from Madala were not bribes, but romantic gestures. The Madala Commission has moved to phase 2 of its work, where people with accusations leveled against them by previous witnesses have a chance to respond. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
A mother and her boyfriend linked to the killing of a 7-year-old girl in Cape Town are expected back in the Khayelitsha Magistrates Court today. Nokuthula Macheseni and Odwa Jack are accused of sexually assaulting and killing Lolita Goa in July last year. Lolita was last seen playing with Macheni's daughter at their home. The girl's body was found at a dumping site in the area a week later. Ndutuzelo Nene reports.
A police sniffer dog led investigators to an address in Sindwandwa Street, Kuyasa, where the child was last seen. The dog reacted to blood on the mop and bloodstains on the floor of the house, which is believed to be that of the little girl. Both accused are currently behind bars after abandoning their bail application last year. The court has also heard that the couple's home was burnt down, allegedly by angry community members. Lolita was laid to rest in Ledefre, Eastern Cape, in August last year. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
4 suspects are expected to appear in court soon after being found with abalone worth more than 45,000 rand in the Tsitsikama Marine Protected Area along the Otter Trial. Last week, SANDF responded to a tip-off about nearly 20 suspected poachers in the area. In a joint operation with Border Police and the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, 4 suspects were arrested, including 2 illegal immigrants. Rangers also recovered 204 units of abalone weighing nearly 30 kilograms. SANDF spokesperson JP Lowe says 2 cases have been opened, one for illegal immigration and the other for abalone possession.
On the 5th of February, teams tracked the suspects to an area where they had been residing in Kovi. The suspects attempted to flee when they were approached. A thorough and intensified search followed, which led to the apprehension of 4 suspects.
Gold is trading at $5,035.42 an ounce. The rand is at 15.98 to the dollar, 21.76 to the pound, 18.91 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $67.37 a barrel.
There's queuing traffic on the M1 South between the Baklu interchange and Greyston Drive due to an accident. Please be on the lookout there and expect about a 20-minute hold-up. And if you're heading towards Fourways, queuing traffic along the N1 South. This is between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 27 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: the Madala Commission of Inquiry resumes today with a new witness and more focus on crime and corruption in the city of Ekurhuleni.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Your brain's a well-oiled machine. Now put it to work in the brain of 702. Enter on primemediaplus.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. I hope you are good this morning. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful weekend like I did. And I wish you all the best with this brand new week. The 702 open line starts now on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps, you send them to 072-702-1702. What is going on with all these, I don't want to call them fake assassination attempts, because the police have not concluded that that is the case. But there seems to be questions asked around the assassination of Mr. Pretorius last week, Thursday. He unfortunately died by suicide over the weekend. But the police are now investigating whether indeed this man survived 16 bullets last week Thursday. Because apparently he's the one that reported the matter to the police. So the police are asking, and I've spoken to some people off the record within the police who are saying, I mean, how do you get someone who comes and shoots at you, several people, 16 bullets, and you survive and you don't even have like a wound? How do you survive 16 bullets and then 2 days later or even the following day you're driving around like nothing happened with your partner? I mean, when you have survived an assassination attempt like that, what's the most rational thing you do? Probably lock yourself in the house, or you ask the police, protect me, send me to a... I mean, this person was someone who is a person of interest. So do you have a conversation with the police at that time around possible protection? I wonder what you think is at play here. The police think that we may be dealing with a syndicate that is eliminating each other in terms of their role and their involvement in the murder of Emmanuel Mbense. And this is really the question asked by the SAPS who were at the scene where Weandre Pretorius died by suicide on Saturday. Remember, Pretorius is the fourth of the 12 individuals being investigated for the killing of Emmanuel Mbense in 2022. Mbense's killing was the subject of the late Marius van der Merwe's testimony at the Madala Commission. Van der Merwe, who was then known as Witness D, implicated several law enforcement personnel, including private security, police, and Metro Police in Mbense's murder. So even Van der Merwe being murdered last year, you know, the police now are coming out and confirming that Pretorius was, in fact, one of the two suspects in the murder. So what do you think is at play here? Are those implicated in Mbense's killing afraid that the net is closing in? Are they eliminating each other? Or is there something more sinister at play here? I'm more interested in the fact that we were, all of us, almost concluding that this man survived 16 bullets in an assassination attempt. And now the police are actually investigating whether indeed that was the case or if that may have been staged in some way. Who knows? We wait and see. But he now died by suicide. Police have confirmed that CCTV footage that they have seen actually confirms what transpired on Saturday. What do you think is at play here? And then here's something interesting. It's actually been of great concern for a while now. The Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Kagube, has revealed that as of 2024, there were 435 public schools that did not offer mathematics as a subject for grade 12 pupils. I think KZN has had the highest number with 130 schools. Other provinces include the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, Western Cape, and Northern Cape. And of course, this is going to worry anyone. Education experts, equally so, have cited the lack of suitably qualified maths teachers in rural areas and remote areas, and how that remains a constraint. And I wonder if we're not overlooking the importance of math to allow people to have more career options. I mean, we are failing children who need mathematics for the careers that they want to get into. But do we have incentives also for people who can teach mathematics? I mean, these days, teachers don't want to work in rural areas unless there's an incentive for them to do so. So what do you think is the solution to this? Because it's always these far-flung rural areas that we so easily forget about. Remember, even when you look at the class of 2026, mathematics pass rate was, it had declined, right? From 69% in 2024 to 64% in 2025. And once again, that has highlighted that even as overall achievement rises, there are serious gaps in foundational learning that must be urgently addressed. So if we don't deliberately invest in maths and science education, especially in historically disadvantaged communities, we really risk producing graduates whose qualifications do not meet the demands of our modern economy. So what do you think the solution is? Teachers who teach maths, who can do a good job at it, are not in the rural areas. They want to go out and work in town because the pay is not good, but also look at the infrastructure where you want them to work. So how can we incentivize more teachers so that every single school offers mathematics as an option? Let me know your thoughts there as well. Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. And then, did you see Lewis Hamilton with Kim Kardashian at the Super Bowl yesterday? So they are dating, allegedly, and they've been spending a lot of time together. They were at the Super Bowl. There have been other pictures of them that have been revealed. Now, I'm not telling you this because I'm interested in Lewis Hamilton's dating life or that I want to discuss it. Not at all. I'm mentioning it because I'm worried. I feel like we might as well kiss goodbye our dream of Hamilton winning the 8th title, at least for now. I really, really feel like Lewis's head is not in the right place. He's too busy. He's got so many distractions. And I honestly feel like this new relationship, if really they are together, is going to add more pressure on him and occupy him a lot. And I think for someone who doesn't really have the fastest car, someone whose time is running against him, someone who is trying to win the last title before he can retire, for someone like that, he should be sacrificing a lot and focusing on the track. And dating someone like Kim Kardashian comes with a lot of pressure. They're going to be attending lots of events together. They're going to be attending so much. I mean, what's next? Is he going to be featured on that reality show? Yeah? And we're going to see him, doing diary on the Kardashians show? I am not saying Lewis Hamilton doesn't deserve to date and be in love. I'm saying I hope this is not going to be yet another distraction that takes him away bit by bit from the bigger goal right now. And maybe I'm being unfair on him, but I promise you this comes from a good place as a caring fan, because I'm a big fan of him and I want him to win the record-breaking 8th title. But with everything else happening around his life and the distractions, I don't see how we're getting closer and closer to that. What are your thoughts? 011-883-0702. At 10 o'clock, we're going to speak to the South African National Defence Force about South Africa's withdrawal of its troops from the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At 10:30, we continue with our series looking at countries America has invaded or intervened militarily in. Today, we are talking about Syria. At 11 o'clock, we are going to do our Family Matters feature, and today we're discussing how to make peace with a parent or guardian who is on their deathbed. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Hi, Clement. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be stupid by these people. Number one, Brian Mokgotsi, being the suspect, the person who has been incriminated, survives 16 bullets. Here comes this nonsensical Pretorius, being incriminated as well. He survives 16 bullets. From who? They are lying, these guys. Yes, he actually accorded justice to himself. Let him go. People died because of him. Bye-bye.
Good morning, Clement. In an ideal world, your analogy, it's correct. But in this world we are living in, you can't trust policemen. Police are corrupt. So even if your car has been shot 16 times, you'll behave abnormally to normal people. It will look abnormal just because the world is no longer ideal. Thank you.
Sibusiso, you calling us from Beggarsford. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Hey, Tada.
I think Lewis Hamilton, honestly speaking, he should have just stuck around one more year in Kabale Grande, because the Mercedes engine is really, really looking good. Red Bull is afraid. Ferrari is afraid. Audi is afraid. They are going to the FIA to get the Mercedes suppressed. at the moment.
They're
This
scared.
is prior to the season start. They are.
Yeah.
They really are.
But the thing is, time is of essence. So, I mean, he wouldn't have known. I don't think he would have known then that they're going to manage to get the car right. I mean, he persisted, this man. He was frustrated by that Mercedes car for so long, and he's still stuck with them. So maybe it was time to try something else. I'm just more worried about the pressure and how busy he is. I don't know if he's really solely focused on getting this title, and that's really my biggest concern.
No, I think you're right. The Kim Kardashian thing is not helping either, to be honest. As soon as I heard that, I thought any prospects of the championship, they're gone. It's over.
Forget it. That's what I thought, yeah. But let's hope, Busiso, because, I mean, I'm still a big fan of him. I'm not saying this out of malice or because I wish him bad. I'm saying it because I care as a fan. When I saw the reports, I was like, oh my goodness. Because dating a Kardashian is not like dating any ordinary person. Like, it's hectic. What, is he going to attend every single event Kim attends? They're lovers. They were at the Super Bowl together. So you want to spend time with your lover. And what will that mean for the focus that we need from him to be on the track? I'm concerned. And I'm beginning to accept that maybe that 8th title is never going to come. And I hope I'm so wrong. Semi, you're calling from Centurion. What do you want to say about Weandre Pretorius?
Yeah, Clement, I'm saying we cannot dictate how people should react to a traumatic situation. Like this guy, if this guy has been shot 16 times, like he said, it still doesn't let him off the hook. He's still have the legal obligation to testify or whatever that the commission requires of him. So if he claims this guy has been shot 16 times, we cannot dictate to him, no, you should react like this based on what we would have been if we were put in a particular situation. And I want to give you an example. In 2018, I was going to work. I tried to board a taxi, right? This taxi driver tried to abduct me. I tried to fight back. They assaulted me. They robbed me of 450. The same day I went to work. And people were like, no, you are making things up. You were never assaulted by taxi drivers and robbed. And even if when I tried to open a case, that's what the police officer said to me. So, as people, we need to learn this thing. We react different to certain situations.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
If the guy,
Semi,
if the guy says my car was shot 16 times.
Yeah.
Sure, you
wake
will
up tomorrow and drive around.
Yeah, if we're not claiming your car was shot 16 times, you would have reacted in a particular way. But he's who he is, right? He's not Clement.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point. He's different. But I mean, Semi, and I'm sorry about your experience. You being assaulted by some taxi guys and them robbing you of 450 Rand is different to dealing with a criminal syndicate that's already taken out 3 people already. That's the difference here. You were not on a crime scene where you actually witnessed or participated in someone being murdered and the body of that person was disposed. There are 3 people that have already been taken out who were on that scene. In total, it's 12. That is quite scary. So any rational person who survives an assassination attempt has to think differently about their security, unless you just want to continue being exposed. And the police are the ones that have confirmed that, in fact, now they're investigating this attempted assassination. Was it really an assassination? Was it? And I'm interested in what changes did he make? Because do you survive 16 bullets and then what, wake up the next day and just drive around, park at a petrol station, chill with your fiance or wife? Like, I don't know. I think that's naive for anybody not to make any security changes, or change your movements in a way, unless, of course, you had decided that, you know what, I'm ready to die, so whatever happens, let it happen. But I do take your points. I mean, that people are different, and maybe he's not scared of dying. Maybe he thought these people are not gonna, get me locked up in my house, and I'm gonna go out and just be myself and live my life. Someone sent a message and said, also, this person, we're told that there were 2 shots, when he committed suicide. 2 shots. So someone is asking on the WhatsApp line, how do you have a chance to shoot yourself the second time when you're in a state like that where you're taking your own life? I haven't seen the video. I've had access to it, but I've chosen not to see it because there are a few people that were sending it of him taking his own life, the CCTV footage that the police have looked at, and I don't want to see it because I just think it's going to be so traumatic. More of your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Good morning, Clement. Clement, that thing of mathematics in the rural area, solution is simple. Those who are working at the urban area, if they get 30,000, so we give those who teach maths also 50,000 if you teach on the rural area. We'll see, we're going to have a lot of teachers of mathematics if we do like that. Even on the health, if we work on the rural hospital, we pay you more than in urban areas. We'll see, we're going to have a lot of people to work in the rural area. We just do like that. Thank you, Clement. It's Iso in Faramea.
Yeah, and I think we need to be more deliberate and intentional about the resources in rural areas. We do. And it cannot be that, as the Minister of Basic Education has confirmed, we are sitting with about 435 public schools that don't offer mathematics as a subject for grade 12 pupils. It cannot be. But the problem is not that the Basic Education Department is chasing the teachers away. The issue here is we simply do not have incentives for people who can do this work in the rural areas. Like if we took you now and we said, with the work you do, let's take you to Mtanzani or, some far-flung, forgotten little village in the Eastern Cape or in Limpopo, in KZN, wherever. Would you take that job? There's no gym in the area. There's no Woolies for some of you that want that when you start working. Or maybe there's no amenities for you, especially as a young person, that would actually keep you in that kind of environment. Would you take up the job? And that's precisely the point. I mean, I think Limpopo, the government in Limpopo has been really trying to modernize and revitalize, for instance, Polokwane, because one of the things I've picked up is, and in fact, statistically, the biggest population that comes to work in Gauteng, they're coming from Limpopo. Many people who are leaving Limpopo to come and work in Gauteng. And part of the reason is you see Limpopo as this old place, especially Polokwane, where you're thinking, but what am I going to do here? But not recently, but I think sometime early last year, I went past Polokwane when I was going somewhere, and I saw how it's really changing. And maybe that's where the focus needs to be. Do you pay the teachers more? What about the infrastructure, like where people are? Because we're losing skills in our provinces because people think better pay is outside and better life is outside, when in fact we need to fix our cities so that even if we have people that are graduating out of the Northern Cape, out of Limpopo, out of KZN, out of the Northwest, we know that we can retain those skills. But how do we do that? And are our provinces intentional about that?
Good morning, Clement. When you say KZN has the scarcity of pure maths teachers, it's interesting that the opposite side of the coin is that their matriculants are said to be the top in the country, percentages wise, which means majority of those matriculants chose pure maths lit, and probably they had no choice but to do maths lit. And the end result is that KZN in that group of matriculants, we are not going to get science student who choose science, because maths is a prerequisite for those who need to do anything, medicine, microbiology, you name it. So it is so sad that teachers are not. It's the same with doctors. They avoid going to rural areas. Okay, thanks, Dima.
Morning, Clement and 702 listeners. Hey, on the issue of mathematics and science teaching, Clement, there are schools where you don't have even a laboratory. Learners that not even got access to textbooks go to those so-called independent schools that are subsidized by the government, sort of NPOs. The government is pouring money there, but the money is abused. Learners are given subjects. You are told, well, now you cannot do maths, you are going to do maths lit, only to find what that learner is capable of doing mathematics just because there is the basics were not given to them. Luvuyo Krasmer.
Good morning, Clement. It's not about resources or shortage of mathematics teachers. The ANC wants to seem to be working when it comes to the pass rate at the end of the year, for them to say that 80% of the students of the Department of Education is working and the kids are passing. I mean, look at this thing of 30%. My son even told me that he doesn't even need to pass, to write the final exam, for him to pass to the next level. Do you understand that? So it's the ANC busy destroying our children, and it's making as if now it's working, because now they are lowering this percentage thing, and now they're not even offering mathematics to our kids. From Naledi, I mean, the ANC must just go out of power, guys. It hates us more than apartheid.
I don't know. How is that the ANC's fault? I don't think it's not that government is not allowing for students to be taught mathematics. Of course, mathematics is part of our curriculum, so any school is entitled and must be able to offer it. But what do you do when there are no teachers who are qualified, who can teach mathematics? A lot of the teachers are going into private schools because they think there's better money there. Like, if your salary is not competitive, why would I take that job? If you are in a rural area somewhere where my life is going to change, like I stayed in the suburbs, or I stayed when I was studying, I was staying at Res in Johannesburg. I've grown accustomed to how life is here. You want to take me all the way to the rural areas where there are not even tarred roads. Where am I even going to stay? There's no residential complexes. The salary is not competitive. That's obvious. Who's going to take that job? So we need to be more intentional about how we create incentives so that there's more people who are very talented who are able to say, I'm going to give it a shot because it's actually worth it. It's 9:32. Time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Fiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clemens. Good morning. The Madala Commission of Inquiry has resumed today with a new witness and more focus on crime and corruption in the city of Ekurhuleni. To protect witnesses, the Commission has adopted a policy of revealing the witnesses' identities a few minutes before they appear. The Commission was established last year to probe possible criminal interference in the country's law enforcement and justice sector. Concerns have been raised about unsafe conditions at the Olivenhout police station. The Gauteng Legislature's Portfolio Committee on Community Safety made an unexpected visit to the station yesterday. During its inspection, the members found that there are no holding cells, forcing suspects, including those charged with violent crime, to be kept at the front desk alongside victims and community members. And Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, will be questioned questioned behind closed doors by the U.S. Congress today, though she's expected to invoke her rights to not answer questions. Maxwell, currently serving 20 years in prison for trafficking girls to the disgraced financier Epstein, will face questions from prison via video link in a deposition by the House of Representatives Oversight Committee. Though no new U.S. prosecutions are expected after the latest dump of government files on Epstein, numerous political and business leaders have fallen into scandal or resigned as their ties to the convicted sex criminal were revealed. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in Cleep Hill Park, Bryanston, we've got an accident reported on the N1 South. It's right after Rivonia Road. It's causing heavy traffic volumes. There's also queuing traffic along the N1 North between Winnie Mandela Drive and Rivonia Road. That's due to onlookers along this route. And then if you're traveling on the M1 South, this is between the Baku Interchange and Grayston Drive. An earlier accident is causing about a 20-minute hold up there. Please be on the lookout and try to avoid. You can still use the N3 South through Vincent Magwenya Road if you want to avoid this backlog heading towards Sandton. And then if you're traveling in City Deep, we've got an accident reported on the M2 West. It happened right near Heidelberg Road. It's causing delays from Silver Street. Please be on the lookout there and expect about a 15-minute hold-up. And there's also queuing traffic on the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Gludies Interchange, peak time delays, as well as on the N1 South. That's in the city of Tshwane. We've got some issues being reported between Linwood Road and the Flying Saucer Interchange. Please approach with care. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
One of the things that the MEC acknowledged yesterday is that there are still, 1,009 applications that are awaiting finalization.
That's quite correct. It's not quite a backlog, Africa. We've since approved about 516 already. So 516 of the operating licenses are out there in the possession of operators.
Lesiba Mpia, spokesperson for MEC Kidibone Diale-Tlabela, the MEC for Gauteng in transportation.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
All cars are designed to move. A Mazda is crafted to move you. Every line, every detail, form in motion, beauty with purpose. So that when you drive, you connect. Car and driver become one. One rhythm. Builds, holds, breaks free. The feeling will find you. Mazda. Wonder awaits.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on. Save extra on new deals every week. Like Kellogg's All-Bran Flakes, 1 kg for $74.99. Listerine Premium Mouthwash, 500 ml for $79.99. And Nescafe Classic Caffeinated Instant Coffee, 200 or 230 grams. Any two for 199 Rand. Valid until 15 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
23 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Clement, good morning. Kutlana from Kibla Park. I have to agree with you regarding Lewis Hamilton's current, whatever it is that he wants to call it. we might just as fans be taken aback, and we might not see what we were hoping for him to achieve, the 8th World Championship for him. But I think also I thought about it just a little bit. If this also is a PR exercise, because Apple is, I think, now the official broadcaster for F1 in America. Kim is also big in America. If this is a PR exercise, it's an expensive one. And yeah, but yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It's bad.
Yeah.
Hi, Clement. This is Joe here from Eden Bay. I hear you about the Lewis Hamilton, Kim Kardashian relationship, and maybe not him winning the eighth title. I think for me, winning or not winning, I think the guy has been making money, Baba. It's time for him, I think, to enjoy his life or a relationship, whatever it is. I think family time it is. If he doesn't have family, it's time to start making family. Start to start enjoying his money. It's time to start enjoying his money. He's on the right place at the right time. Without winning the title or winning it, for me, I think the guy must start enjoying his life and money, man, Baba. This guy has been making money for a long time, and I think it's enough is enough. He's had enough. I think it's time for him to just win or not win. I think for me, I don't care. He mustn't even worry. I think no, people mustn't worry. Must be happy for him. I think to go out there and enjoy his money, his hard work. I think it's time you start doing that. Joey here, thanks, my man.
And we're happy for him to enjoy his money. But you know how much more he's gonna make if he wins this record-breaking 8th title? He's going to be set for life. But hey, maybe he's already set for life. Then he must also tell us as his fans that, you know what, I'm not too crazy about the 8th title. I'm just racing for fun. Then we know that we don't have to put our hopes up. That's it. Then he must tell us that that's no longer his priority. No athlete becomes the best at the sport by not sacrificing certain things. So you don't just enjoy your money and go to parties and drink lots of alcohol when you've got a game tomorrow. It's always about sacrifice. And sometimes you've got to sacrifice relationships. Sometimes you've got to sacrifice friends. And I just find that he's piling up more responsibilities instead of taking away some things and focusing on the track so that we can get to the goal. 19 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Dr. Hofmeyer, you calling us from... Good morning.
Good morning, from Rivonia.
From Rivonia. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Right. So my thoughts are the following, of the points you've made and listeners have made. This has been my area that I have studied for years. And in the process of doing research, I've learned certain things. First of all, teachers' pay in South Africa has been researched against pay in many other countries. And basically, we're in the middle of the range of payment. But now you've got to separate the salary from the remuneration. They get another 35% in their remuneration package, which includes fantastic government pension, very good medical aid, and a housing allowance. Now, even a private company battles to give that degree of benefits. So let's park that point. Second point is the difference between better salaries in independent schools, not so. If you take early entries into schools from young teachers, they earn far more than the teachers in public schools because of those benefits. Now, where the public schools fall down is that teachers who've been in the system quite a long time do stop at a certain level of the ceiling of that level, whether it's RFV2 13 or 14, whatever. So their progression and their increase in pay is not as good as in private schools. Where they do get paid pretty well is in the very most expensive private schools. And why? Is because they often get boarding house there, and they often get benefits for their children in terms of the fees at those schools.
I see.
So it's a very mixed thing. Now, you raised the point about teachers not wanting to go to rural areas. And the most critical point you made is the issue of accommodation. Worldwide research shows that giving extra money like a special incentive doesn't really work. The key thing is, where do they stay? And so building accommodation or building boarding hostels, which we used to have all over the country, those ones have been stopped. So schools don't tend to have them. Now there's a huge benefit because they don't have to pay for their own housing, etc. They get meals, etc. So that has been found the one way. Now, France has a very interesting system. What they do is the young new teachers also don't want to go to rural areas, but this is what they've devised. If you go to what they call a difficult to staff school, then, and you do that for 1 or 2 years, you are then jumped up a couple of salary notches and you're in line for a quicker promotion. So lots of teachers do that, and that has proved to be a very effective
Shouldn't we
way.
adopt that system?
I think there's a lot to be said for that. Absolutely. And the other thing is, it is really highly problematic about the lack of maths teachers. And worst of all is the lack of good training for the foundation phase teachers who don't really know how to teach reading or to teach arithmetic, because they all have to be trained at university now. And honestly, and my apologies to my university colleagues, but I don't think many of them have ever learnt how to teach reading or how to teach maths, numeracy. So immediately the children are not learning the correct way. And we know the correct way is phonics. And the biggest problem, the way maths is taught, in fact, I was taught like that at school, is children are not taught to think mathematically. They learn certain theorems. They learn certain things by rote. And then when it comes to the more challenging syllabus in the upper high school, they can't cope. But the other thing is the schools. The schools want to get 100%. So what they do is they look at the early intake of grade 8s, and then they see after grade 9 how they're doing, and they tell those who aren't doing so well, you must go into maths literacy, so that when the others go into maths,
that guarantees
and so yes, they'll get 100%, but then you have to ask, you have to say, what is the participation rate in maths? You dig a little further down.
Dr. Jane Hofmeyer, we must have more this conversation some more. Thank you so much for calling us. Dr. Jane Hofmeyer is a consultant in education policy. I think this calls for a broader conversation, and maybe we should dedicate about an hour on the show at some point in the coming weeks to just continue this chat more broadly. Anna, you are calling us from Veldtevredenpark. Hi.
Hi, Clement. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Go ahead.
Your first time caller.
Welcome.
So ke tsogile.
Relax.
Yeah, ke tsogile. So, no, I actually do have a burden for mathematics and physics. Okay, I run an NPO and we are based in Soweto. So we've been doing this work since 2014. So we recruit young people at schools, and when we come in contact with them, they would be getting 45% in maths and 40% in physics. Then when they leave the program, they already have distinctions, because the goal is to prepare them for university. So we are very intentional in actually doing that. But I think what I've realized is that education is not given a focus. We don't really care. I'm sorry for me to say that, but I realize that in our country, we don't care. We only focus on that day when the minister gives a report, after matric. When she announces the results, then she says 89%, and we go, hooray! We've done it, but we don't know the quality. The thing is that the quality of the passes, for example, mathematics, I'm still trying to get the average national for mathematics, pure math. You can't get that statistic, So because then learners are forced into mathematics mathematics literacy, and actually there's a phobia for maths. I've realized, having as we've been working with schools, young people are actually made to fear mathematics. Number one. Yeah. And now they want to pass, obviously. If you tell a young person that, how can I go maths? Pure maths,
they already move.
Exactly. So now we have a challenge, Abu Clement, in this country, because then even because I always say that with our organization, we are trying to solve that problem, but also we are preparing young people to enter into STEM fields. And through God's grace, we've done that because we've touched over 210 young people, and about 70% of them are already in the STEM fields.
Oh, that's amazing. What's the name of your NPO, Anna?
The chosen, but the program
Okay, and maybe some parents out there can check it out. Thank you for the call. I'm just out of time, but I think we got it. And thanks for the work that you're doing through your NPO. It's 10 minutes before 10.
If you're looking for that new year, new car moment, then look no further than the Haval H6. With the super spacious interior and family-friendly features like auto-lift tailgate and intuitive voice command, the Haval H6 is available from only $6,499 per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you're not just buying a plan, you're also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover, as well as transport, grocery and unveiling benefits. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
8 minutes before 10.
Hi, good morning, Clement, and 702. What would you do, Clement? I think, people react differently. Clement, if that would happen to me, I don't trust the police. Yes, I'd go and hide, I'd go underground, but you still need to survive. What do you do in that situation? Or do you rather face these people? So it's really, really, really difficult being in South Africa. So to me, I think you're alone. No one to help you. Thanks, Clement.
Thank you. So he's responding to the conversation we were having earlier about Weandra Pretorius, who died by suicide on Saturday. He's the fourth of the 12 individuals being investigated for the killing of Emmanuel Bense back in 2022. There are, I think, 12 people of interest, but out of those, 4, including him, have now been taken out. Well, they've now died, let me put it that way, because he died by suicide. But just last week, Thursday, he had survived an assassination attempt because there were 16 bullets riddled his car and he walked away with not even a single wound, according to the police. The police are now investigating whether that was really a genuine assassination attempt or if it was staged, because they're questioning a number of things. Because, by the way, he is the one apparently who reported the assassination attempt on his life, the attempt on his life to the police. So, yeah, if you thought Brown Bokhot's story was bizarre, then here we are once again.
Morning, Clemza. Clemza, you know me now, what I personally think. I think these people are being killed. Like guy, Pretorius, or who just killed himself just this weekend. I think he was told is either he kills himself or they come after his family. These people is just a syndicate engine. So I think they are fighting each other at the same time. So yeah, that's what I think.
Hi, Clement. This fellow being shot at 16 times. Maybe we should ask ourselves, was it the first time? How many times has he actually been shot at? How many times or how many people has he actually shot at? My understanding is that reservists don't only do admin, but they're actually on the front line. And a lot of reservists work with private security and your CPFs and neighborhood watches, and they normally deal a lot with the front line. So what exactly is his background? Because if you consider the KZN police that are always in crossfires with criminals, are they honestly fine up there in the head? I mean, like, is my normal and your normal and their normal the same? I don't know. Maybe we should just consider those things. Not that he's innocent of anything else, but my point is, these people that are in this environment, how exactly are they stable?
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Kulagani, you're calling us from Johannesburg. What do you want to say about this issue of mathematics?
Well, Clement, I think for the first time, I want to disagree with what you're saying in terms of teachers not taking jobs in rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
My partner is a maths teacher. She comes from rural KZN and would gladly take a job anywhere in the country if she was able to. For the last 2 years, she's been trying to get jobs in teaching, and she's been failing to get jobs. So I think the issue here is in the hiring process. I think there is some rot right there, and that's what needs to be fixed.
And you said he teaches mathematics?
She teaches mathematics and other subjects, but she majored in mathematics. So she hasn't been employed, and it's not for lack of trying to get a job.
Of course.
She's on a daily basis trying to get a job.
Of course. In Kulagani, there are other people like her who are trying and are willing to go anyway. But that's also an exception. Not every teacher also is willing to do that. As you heard from we got a call from is it Dr. Hofmeyer, who is a public education policy consultant, who says research has been done to show that especially the more younger people, you've got to give them something in return for them going to the rural areas. But that's not to say that there's no person out there who is willing to take that job from anywhere else. And maybe what government should do is to tell us which schools those are, so that we can broadcast it, and someone may be listening and thinks, okay, here's an opportunity for me to get the job at this school that doesn't have a mathematics teacher, so that it becomes a collaboration, because there must be some teachers out there who are professionals, who are qualified, who are willing to go and work anywhere else, and they're equally good. They really, really understand mathematics. So maybe we need to think about that collaborative approach. 3 minutes before 10.
There's much to say about where South Africa is, and even more about where it's going.
On Thursday, 12 February, President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers the State of the Nation address, live from Cape Town City Hall.
702 Cape Talk and Eyewitness News will be there, analyzing every word and bringing you the news as it breaks.
From the build-up to the address to the conversations that follow.
Join Clement Manyathela and Mandy Weiner for live coverage and in-depth analysis from 6 to 10 p.m.
Live on the radio or live stream on the Prime Media Plus app. Sona 2026. Thursday, 12 February.
Live on 702 Cape Talk and EWN.
Corporates that care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates that care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Romco, their CEO, Mlanzeni Boys. We'll be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
For over 30 years, Bid Air Cargo has been keeping South Africa's supply chain moving, giving our economy the dedicated cargo capacity it needs. Whether it's really, really urgent, oversized, or hazardous, when a shipment has to fly, we make it happen. Linking all major airports with reliable freighter services, our promise delivers. Bid Air Cargo. Every kilo counts.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Suspended head of legal at Ekurhuleni Municipality, Kamraj Kemi Bihari, has taken the witness stand at the Madala Commission of Inquiry. Bihari was suspended from his job in December last year for failing to take action against Deputy Chief of Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, Julius Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi has entered the police department into a contract with the private security company of suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Matlala. The contract was later found to be irregular, with police watchdog IPID recommending that disciplinary action be taken against Mkhwanazi. However, Bihari sat on the report and failed to implement IPID's recommendation for more than 2 years. Concerns have been raised about unsafe conditions at the Olivenwood-Bosch police station. The Gauteng Legislature's Portfolio Committee on Community Safety made an unexpected visit to the station yesterday. During inspections, the members found that there are no holding cells, forcing suspects, including those charged with violent crime, to be kept at the front desk alongside victims and community members. The committee also noted poor infrastructure, overcrowding, insufficient lighting, and severe resources shortage. Chairperson Bandile Masuku has emphasized the urgent need for action to address these risks.
The committee has taken serious note of all these concerns, will urgently engage relevant authorities and make necessary interventions to ensure that SAPS members deployed to serve the community of Olivenwood-Bosch are provided with safe, adequate and dignified working conditions that are conducive to effective crime prevention and community safety.
The presidency says the decision to pull South African troops from the UN's mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo is influenced by the need to consolidate and realign resources from the country's defense force. It's understood that President Cyril Ramaphosa indicated the decision during a telephonic interview, or rather conversation, with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres last month. South African soldiers have been deployed to the UN mission in the DRC since 1999. Khonzo Modise has more.
South Africa is pulling out its forces from the Democratic Republic of Congo after 27 years of deployment. But President Cyril Ramaphosa says they'll continue to maintain close bilateral relations with the DRC government. The Institute for Security Studies, Willem L, says recently South African troops have had a difficult time in the DRC, being under-resourced.
In the eastern DRC, where the local public lost their faith in them and lost their trust in them because they believe that they are not fulfilling their mandate in order to protect them against the rebels.
He says they also struggled with the mandate that they've been given.
For instance, if you are peacekeeping, they may only shoot in self-protection, they may only act in self-protection, and they are really limited in what they can do to protect the local community and the locals there.
Meanwhile, Ramaphosa has welcomed the appreciation expressed by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Khomza Modise, Eyewitness News.
And Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, will be questioned behind closed doors by the U.S. Congress today, though she is expected to invoke her right not to answer questions. Maxwell, currently serving 20 years in prison for trafficking girls to the disgraced financier Epstein, will face questions from prison via video link in a deposition by the House of Representatives Oversight Committee. Though no new U.S. prosecutions are expected after the latest dump of government files on Epstein, numerous political and business leaders have fallen into scandal or resigned as their ties to the convicted sex criminal were revealed. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee is probing Epstein's connections to powerful figures and how information about his crimes was handled. Epstein was convicted in 2008 of soliciting a minor. He died in prison in 2019 while awaiting trial for trafficking children in what was ruled a suicide. Gold is trading at $5,035.42 an ounce. The rand is at 15.98 to the dollar, 21.76 to the pound, 18.91 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $67.37 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 South. In fact, an accident reported right after Rivonia Road. Delays from the Baku interchange towards Winnie Mandela Drive. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South. This is between Marlborough Drive and Corlett Drive roadworks, as well as an accident reported along this route. So please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic along the M1 South approaching Empire Road coming out of Houghton Drive.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 27 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: suspended head of legal at Ekurhuleni Municipality, Kemraj Kemi Bihari, has taken the witness stand at the Madala Commission of Inquiry.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 10 o'clock, Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. And thank you for all your contributions on the 702 open line. Remember, at 10:30, we are going to continue with our series looking at countries that America has invaded or countries that America has intervened in militarily. So far, we've looked at Iraq, Libya, Vietnam, and today we're focusing on Syria. After more than a decade of intervention in Syria and an unprecedented regime change, the US is still at war there. What began in 2011 as mass demonstrations against the repressive government of Syrian President Bashar Assad has become a civil war throughout and thoroughly internationalized, with a host of foreign actors intervening in that conflict, either directly or through proxy. So we'll look at what really transpired in Syria and what's been the involvement of America at 10:30. But at 11 o'clock, we are going to do our Family Matters feature, and today we're discussing how to make peace with a parent or guardian who is on their deathbed, because isn't that what often happens? Sometimes you've got people that you don't get along with, not because you don't like them, but because there's something that's happened, either a traumatic event, or they have betrayed you in some way, or they have violated you in some way, and you want to try and make peace. Or you've betrayed them. Maybe you violated them. And you can see that they are about to die. How do you make peace? How do you even forgive people who are on their deathbed and they have not asked for forgiveness, but you don't want to carry the pain and the responsibility when they are gone, and you've not taken the chance and the opportunity to fix things between the two of you? What are your thoughts on that? We're going to be talking about that on our Family Matters feature at 11 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
But right now, we start the conversation with the South African National Defence Force. So South Africa has announced that it's going to withdraw its troops from the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, ending nearly 3 decades of continuous peacekeeping in the conflict-wracked country. The presidency, you may have seen, said in a statement that the decision was driven by the need to consolidate and realign the resources of the South African National Defence Force after 27 years of support for the United Nations peacekeeping efforts in the DRC. So South Africa is currently among the top 10 troop contributing countries to MONUSCO. I think we've got about 700 soldiers who are deployed in the DRC in support of the mission's peacekeeping mandate, if I'm not mistaken. And remember, MONUSCO was established by the United Nations Security Council in 1999, initially to support the Lusaka ceasefire agreement. Spiwe Dlamini is the spokesperson for the SANDF, joining us on the line. Spiwe, thank you for making time. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Clement, and good morning to your listeners, and thank you for having me on your station.
Let's start by clarifying to the listeners the difference between this United Nations peacekeeping mission that we are withdrawing from and the SAMI DRC mission, which was terminated last year already.
Yeah, that's a good and important point you are raising, Clement. The UN mission is called MONUSCO, which is a UN-mandated mission in the DRC to deal with all security issues that are bedeviling that region. And the SAMI DRC is purely a SADC, which is the Southern African Development Community mission. It is made out of the SADC countries. In this case, it was mainly made up of South Africa, Tanzania, and Malawi. Whereas MONUSCO is much bigger and larger. MONUSCO, I think, has about close to 20,000 members of that mission from various countries, which include South Africa.
Yeah.
So, and it's purely a United Nations sanctioned mission, whereas SAMI DRC is a SADC sanctioned mission.
So their mandates were different?
In a way, yes. The mandates were different. Safe to say that they still have a robust engagement with the what I would call negative forces in that region. But their mandate, in the end, were to ensure that there is security and stability in that region.
The presidency said in their statement that this decision was influenced by the need to consolidate and realign the resources of the SANDF. How much has this kind of deployment cost our government?
Clement, you're putting me in a very difficult position. The statement is from the higher office, and I'm not sure if I'm competent enough to respond to that. Safe to say, we have been in the DRC through MONUSCO for the past almost 30 years. I think it's about 27 years. And since the time of our first president, Mandela. So I can imagine what cost has gone into the mission. And again, we do get reimbursed in accordance to the UN rules and regulations. But I wouldn't want to go into that because that statement is from the higher office.
Yes, I get that it's from the higher office, but I'm asking from the SANDF side, how much are we spending on a deployment like this? I think, has the SANDF not been like just checking how much money is actually must be invested by them in this mission on an annual basis, or how much has been invested at least over the last, 2 decades or the 27 years?
We will have to balance our books, but the mission comes in two phases, Clement. The UN is responsible for financing the entire mission.
Yeah.
And where the UN, if we bring in our equipment like we've done, the UN then reimburses us in relation to what we've brought into that mission. So there is reimbursements, and it will be a bit difficult for me to give you a ball figure that what South Africa has used or invested in that mission. But the UN takes the bulk, if not all of the finances around the United Nations sanctioned mission.
Okay. So what are we expecting? What difference will this decision make broadly in the function of the SANDF? Because the presidency says it's trying to respond to the capacity constraints within the SANDF, I would imagine. That's why the presidency says the decision is influenced by the need to consolidate and realign the resources. And part of those constraints in the SANDF include financial constraints. We all know how the SANDF has also been a victim of budget cuts.
Clement, you keep putting me in a very difficult position, but I'll try and respond. Look, there is what we call, or that's what we term, operational pause in military terms. Operational pause simply means you stand back and look at how things have been going over a period of time. And I think that the president has reached that point that we need to reflect and look at how we have performed and what are the challenges that we've had, if any, and what have been the positives that we can draw from this mission. And therefore, the operational pause came into being. Of course, I mean, it's no secret that there's been financial and budgetary constraints within the SANDF, and that matter, I'm pleased, and I've always been saying to everybody that government has really taken this matter quite seriously, and there's been discussions between ourselves, National Treasury, the Presidency itself, and the cluster, the security cluster, on how funding or budgeting should be made for the security cluster as a whole, and in particular the South African National Defence Force.
So in the context of these financial and budgetary constraints, why are you planning to spend so many millions on a single symbolic event this month, the Armed Forces Day?
I expected that question, and thanks for asking that question, Clement. I think there's two issues that we need to look at. One, it's a very symbolic but equally important day in the calendar of the SANDF. We have not had Armed Forces Day in the past 2 years. The last Armed Forces Day was, I think, held in 2023 in Richards Bay, and it's a very important day in the SANDF, in the sense that it brings all of us together and has a lot of impact. But the second issue, Clement, is that it's not a one-day event. It's an event that takes about 2 weeks in that place where we are. We send out various services to the communities that are in that area. In particular, if I may, in this case, we've sent out engineers, construction people, and machinery to help with the situation that the province finds itself after the devastating floods that happened about two weeks ago. So we've got our capabilities in that regard to help the municipality and the districts that will be in there. And we've sent also our medical practitioners, your doctors, your veterinary services, and social workers, etc. We've been through a program called OA2, where we've been assisting old people with cataract, for instance, and other various ailments. We've been in Waterberg, we've been in Sikukuni, we've been in many other places that offering military health services. So it's not a one day off. The one day culminates only on the 21st of February. So there are quite a lot of programs which are social directed. For instance, we have a program around a children's program and a schools program where we visit schools and teach our kids about what it means to raise a flag and sing the national anthem and all those things. So it's a really community-based engagement before the actual day that is the 21st, where the president addresses the troops.
So all of that, including what happens on the day, is going to cost us 370 million rand?
No, Clement.
How much are we looking at?
I'll be honest with you. We have actually looked at this quite with an eye that says, due to the pressures of the budget that we're experiencing ourselves, what is it that we are going to cut off? For instance, we sometimes spend days on end in that area with a large amount of equipment and troops, and we've reduced that to a bare minimum. And I would not be able right now to give you a ball figure, Clement, in all honesty, because these things are such that we as we go in there, we take a number of people not to sit there all the time. But after the event itself, we can give you how much we've spent. But it's surely, definitely, and it's not going to be 300 and whatever the figure is that is spent in the public domain.
Okay. The Sunday Times reported yesterday that there are some soldiers patrolling our borders complaining of being hungry and sick with severe food shortages and no medicine. Are you aware of these shortages?
Clement, I'm very pleased and really appreciative that you are raising these critical issues and we are discussing them in the public. Clement, day before yesterday, I received a comprehensive report from Joint Operations Division, which is responsible for all our operations, and we gave a comprehensive 2-page response to the paper you mentioned, and unfortunately, I do not determine, nor do we determine what they should and should not print. However, if I may respond to you, the issue of food, I can confirm to you, Clement, that the funding for 2025-26 funding has been adequate and made available for the procurement of rations for troops in all deployment areas. There has been, though, an isolated case in KZN where we've had challenges with the suppliers and the orders that we've made, which have affected our delivery. But we have also supplemented that shortfall with the composite packages of food ration. That is our response to the issue that Sunday Times wrote. We've given them that response.
So you're saying the isolated case is the one in KwaZulu-Natal. That's the only case you know of as the SANDF, and there's no other case of any of our soldiers who are patrolling our borders that have not gotten their food and, of course, those packages.
No, not that I know of, and I do not doubt what the report I got from the Joint Operations Division, which is the division that runs our deployment in the borders. So I do not doubt them. And fortunately, I'm one of those people that actually physically visit these areas so that I get a sense of what is happening. My last visit was in Limpopo area, in Musina, where I was physically there with the commander of those troops that were are deployed in that area.
Okay, just quickly before you leave, and I'll take some reaction on 011-883-0702. You can send WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. Are you able to confirm, Spiwe, if the SANDF has promoted Soli Lithuania to general and commanding officer at the SANDF Special Forces?
Well, during the promotions, I'll have to refer back to the what we call a bulletin, the bulletin that has all the names, and refer that, because that is the official document that I must refer to if somebody has been promoted. I am aware of this issue around promotion, and I've been getting inquiries at Clement, but I have to consult the bulletin that announces all those for me to be able to justifiably and formally and officially say to you, yes, he has, or not he has. Unfortunately, I don't have the document in front of me with you, but I can share with you even offline to say yes or no about it.
But what you are aware of is that this same gentleman is soon to stand trial for murder.
I am aware, sir.
Okay. Spiwe Dlamini, SANDF spokesperson, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Spiwe Dlamini speaks on behalf of the SAPS. You must go read a story about this Soli Lithuania gentleman who has now, we're told, from reports, being promoted to general and commanding officer at the SANDF Special Forces. I mean, that would be interesting and quite bizarre, given that this is the very same man who is soon to stand trial for the murder of Colonel Franz Matipa. You must go check out the story. It's actually quite crazy. But anything is possible with this government, hey? More so in the military, given what's been happening recently. If they have promoted the very same person to be the head of special forces, and the very same person is soon to stand trial for the murder of Colonel Franz Matipa. But then again, this is South, hey? Alive with possibilities. Chris Hatting is calling us from Potchefstroom, wants to react to that conversation. He's the DA spokesperson on defense and military veterans. Chris, thank you for calling. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Sharp. What are your thoughts?
I'm astonished with what I heard. This is another reality that, other than that, I'm exposed to. Let's start off with your last issue with the promotion of now Brigadier General Lithuania. Yeah, he certainly is there, and I really am astonished that the spin that the spokesperson of the SANF has been put on this. We've been on oversight 10 days ago in the Western Cape at Saldanha, at 4th Special Forces Regiment. And the Brigadier General was right there for us, with us all day, wearing his general ranking on his shoulders. He's there, and he was introduced as Officer Commanding of the Special Forces. So I don't think there should be any doubt. And I really reject that type of spin coming officially from the SADF. The problem that we have here is that he is out on bail. And some of the other co-accused must report to the Officer Commanding of the Special Forces, who is himself. In fact, he should be reporting on a daily basis to himself, which is a total absurd situation. But you say anything is possible in the SANF. Yes, and certainly this is possible, but not everything is possible. For instance, the readiness of the SANF, which has now come to the front with the withdrawal from the DRC as part of the MONUSCO funds, it's not possible for us to present any type of military force extension into Africa at the moment with credibility. That is not possible.
Well, how much money, Chris? I mean, do we know, and how can we find out how much has already been spent? Because the presidency says we need to consolidate and realign the resources of the SANDF. That's part of the reason. That's really what's influenced the decision to withdraw from this United Nations peacekeeping mission. But Spiwe Dlamini says he doesn't really have the figures, and even if there's monies that our government has paid, that ends up being reimbursed by the United Nations. Is there a way of actually finding out how much money have we invested in all of this? Because I'm trying to see what kind of difference this is going to make given the capacity constraints in the SANDF. So is it going to help us more because there's some money that's going to be saved that can go into other priorities?
Well, there's certainly a way to find out that will take time. But let's just look at the deployment, like with the SAMI DRC deployment in the DRC as well as the United Nations or MONUSCO deployment. There's normally contracts that we must supply so many troops, specified missions, and that we should, for instance, supply attack helicopters and so many vehicles, and then we get paid for that. But the problem arises when we, for instance, with our Royal Falk helicopters, of which we had 3 up there, and we are contracted to provide them, but because of lack of serviceability and maintenance, we cannot provide the service. Then we don't get paid for the service that we don't provide, which we should, under our contractual obligation, should have supplied. But then there are also always, with the SANDF, the hidden costs. For instance, with the SANDF's Cuban obsession, where we have some people training in Cuba and some Cubans working here at exorbitant cost. For instance, last year there was this graduation ceremony, and an aircraft was chartered for 34 million, taking the generals over there to attend the graduation ceremony, and that's not all. For all of this, people are paying so-called S&P, substance and travel allowances, of which at this moment, 5% of the entire SANDF budget goes to this, and it's mostly the senior officers that benefits for them, and the overseas S&T is just escalating. In fact, it has more than doubled in the past 3 years. So we have a situation where in the SANDF, where the S&T is escalating, while our soldiers on the ground level have now, in many instances, been reduced to 2 meals a day.
Chris Hatting, thank you for calling us in Potchefstroom. He's the DA spokesperson on defense and military veterans. He wanted to call in and comment on what Piet Dlamini has told us. He's denying, of course, Piet Dlamini, that is, that there are soldiers that are patrolling our borders, that are not eating, that don't have enough equipment and food and medicine. He says that there was an isolated case in KwaZulu-Natal, but the issue was with just the people, their supply chain process, and not so much that there are no resources and there's no money for medicine or food. And when I asked about how much is going to be spent on Armed Forces Day, he says, well, it's not going to be the 370 million rand as reported, but he says they will reduce equipment and troops because of financial pressure. It's now 10:30. Sfiso has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we're going to continue with our series that's looking at the countries that America has invaded or intervened in militarily. Today, we're telling you about Syria. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. The Gauteng water crisis is deepening as Rand Water reduces high-consumption municipalities, including Johannesburg and Tshwane. The entity says usage in these two metros is placing strain on the infrastructure and forcing it to operate under pressure. This reduction comes days after residents of Midrand and parts of Tshwane were left without water when the system failed following a leak. Suspended head of legal at Ekurhuleni Municipality, Kemi Bihari, has taken the witness stand at the Madala Commission of Inquiry. Bihari was suspended from his job in December last year for failing to take action against Deputy Chief of Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, Julius Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi had entered the police department into a contract with the private security company of suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Katmatlala. And three opposition figures close to Venezuela's Nobel Peace Laureate Maria Maria Corina Machado have been freed from prison. This is part of the release of political prisoners following the capture of leader Nicolas Maduro. The releases come as lawmakers prepare to vote tomorrow on an historic amnesty law covering charges used to lock up dissidents during almost 3 decades of socialist rule. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling on the M1 South, we've got delays between Empire Road and the Hudson Drive, Killarney Bains. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic reported along the M1 South. This is now in the north part of Joburg. This is between Marlborough Drive and Greyston Drive. Turn off those roadworks that were taking place there, and that's the reason for that backup. And if you're travelling on the N1 South, both directions, no, actually the N1 South, we do have delays between the Baku interchange and Winnie Mandela Drive. This is due to an accident after Rivonia Road. Delays of about 20 minutes there. Please be on the lookout and approach with care. Travelling in the Boksburg area, we've got delays on the N17 East. This is just as you approach the R23. Please be on the lookout there. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Start the year right with We Buy Cars. Selling your vehicle, they'll come to you, handle everything, and pay you instantly. Simply visit webuycars.co.za and complete the form to discover what they'll offer you. Need a new ride for the new year? Browse thousands of options online or at any We Buy Cars branch nationally. We Buy Cars. Buy or sell the simpler way.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T&Cs online. Standard rates apply.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
10:35. So in Jan, we started a series where we look at the countries that America has invaded or intervened militarily in. And we started this because as we were starting a new year, we were dealing with America having militarily intervened or, invaded Venezuela. And invasion doesn't necessarily speak about you being there for 6 years or for 10 years. The point is there are American soldiers who went and invaded a sovereign country and kidnapped its president. So as we were studying the new year, we decided to actually look at other countries where America has come in and brought their soldiers on the ground, whether it was for 3 minutes or for 2 hours, however long that operation may have lasted. What reasons did America give for behaving in that manner or for deciding to intervene militarily? So we have so far looked at Iraq, at Libya, we looked at Vietnam. I don't know if I'm forgetting any other country, but today we're focusing on Syria. And of course, after more than a decade of intervention in Syria and an unprecedented regime change, the U.S. is still at war there. And this is something that began back in 2011 as mass demonstrations against the repressive government at the time turned into a civil war. with a host of foreign actors intervening in the conflict, either directly or indirectly, whether you talk about Russia, Iraq, Iran, that is, the United States, Gulf Arab states, Hezbollah, Turkey, the country's protracted civil war has really seen hundreds of thousands of Syrians killed and nearly 14 million, more than half of the pre-war population displaced. Aisha Kaji, who is an international relations analyst and research fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues, joins us now via Zoom to guide us through this conversation. If you have been reading a lot about America's involvement in Syria, you're welcome to call us, or maybe you've got a question. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702. Aisha, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you doing?
I'm all right. So let's start in the beginning, because, of course, this started as a small act of anti-Assad defiance, but how did it become one of the deadliest and most complex wars of the 21st century, what we've been seeing in Syria?
Well, I think a large part of the longevity of that war and the complexity of that war can be attributed to the geopolitical position of Syria and the intervention, if nothing else, of foreign powers. You mentioned that the US, Russia, Iran, Turkey, etc., and even some of the smaller Gulf states in the region, and of course Israel through its proxy, the United States, basically have all had a role in the so-called Syrian civil war. The roots of that war do go back, centuries in terms of the split between Shia and Sunni Islam, and the fact that the Bashar al-Assad family, a very, very prominent Shia family, has controlled the economic interests in Syria for more than decades, really, and rose to power as an ally of Iran, which is also a majority Shia country. But while I think the Western countries would like us to think that it's as simple or as naive as that, while that is certainly an issue, and it certainly did lead to the rise of Kurdish forces in the northwest and, seeking to secede from Syria, as Kurdish forces have done have been trying to secede from Turkey, etc. That is one element of the complexity, Clement. Another element is, of course, the rise of small or initially small Sunni factions and militias, which then started to conglomerate and aggregate and become partners of such notorious groups as Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, ISIS, or if you want to call it ISIL, depending on the acronym you use for it. That added another layer of complexity within the country. So you had, as I said, the Sunni-Shia tensions, but then the kind of economic and political power of the Assad family, Bashar al-Assad's family. And then you had the rise of Kurdish rebellion and the rise of Sunni militias, which ultimately the Sunni militias aggregated and became affiliated to both Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Now, that is just one level of the complexity. The other level, of course, is then the geopolitical tensions in the region, given Syria's strategic position, given Israel's fear of Iran and of Syria at the time as well, and given the US's pronouncements about Syria dating back as far as 30, 35, even 40 years. What George W. Bush called the axis of evil, and including Syria in there, the intervention, on-the-ground intervention of the US in September 2014 with the stated aim of countering or fighting the so-called ISIS threat. But I'd like to say that I don't think that was the US's only aim. And then the US's support for some of the the elements that are currently in power, but largely its support for the SDF, the Kurdish-aligned SDF, and its support even prior to U.S. intervention on the ground in terms of both military support, but also very, very importantly, intelligence support. And then don't forget that apart from being politically, strategically situated in terms of political tensions in the region and the kind of, shall we say, West versus East dynamic between the sort of NATO-aligned countries and Russia, China, etc. on the other hand. And then, of course, the fears of Iran as a regional hegemon, those fears largely fear-mongered by Israel. There is also the question of Syria is strategically placed in terms of oil and oil routes to Europe and to the West.
Yeah.
And Syria itself has oil reserves as well as other mineral reserves, not huge ones, but strategically important ones.
Yeah. Let's talk about the involvement of the United States then, to be specific. I mean, what has been the US's justification for not only the troops' presence, but the continued bombing of targets in a sovereign country? Because when it comes to Syria, it looks like it's still contested whether the US's role is an intervention or a war, or is it even an occupation?
Well, I would certainly say that at the least it's an intervention. It certainly became a player in the war, and its continued presence now after the transition and the overthrow of the Bashar al-Assad government in December 2024, its continued presence might actually signal a type of occupation. So I think it's a combination of all three. What began as an intervention quickly became, a rootedness in the war, and the continued presence of troops post-war or post the overthrow of the Assad regime signals possibly some kind of quasi-occupation, should I say. The US entered the war, as I said, on the ground in 2014, but the Obama administration prior to that, as early as 2011, had placed sanctions on Syria and was actively supporting the Free Syrian Army rebel faction, at that time a rebel faction, by both through the CIA, but also by providing training, by providing weaponry, etc., and lots of surveillance flights over Syria to gather intelligence. So the United States' role in this area and in this country is not new, but its active role, perhaps, or its most active role, began in 2011 and then intensified in 2014. There was a US brokered peace deal between the Kurds and the current regime in Damascus, sort of towards, I think it was March or April last year. And the terms of that agreement were always going to be difficult to hold the parties to. So, it was another one of those instances where Mr. Trump wanted to be able to say, I made peace, because he was clearly, positioning himself as a front runner for a peace prize, possibly the Nobel, which he didn't get. But then, of course, he was given the very new and somewhat questionable FIFA Peace Prize.
Yeah.
But
we will not go there.
At the end of the day, he was maneuvering to be able to say, I made peace in Syria.
And he promised
whether that has been a lasting peace is questionable.
Yes, and he promised that I'm going to get the soldiers to leave Syria and come back home. But, I mean, look at what they've said about ISIS. I mean, ISIS lost its, was it its last territory back in 2019? Why does Washington then still argue that the fight is still not over?
Because of Washington's fears, quite frankly, and its satellite proxy, Israel's fears of Iran. Both Israel and Washington, or Tel Aviv and Washington, wanted a US presence on the ground and continue to want a US presence on the ground in Syria because they are so paranoid about Iranian intentions in the region. And they are so paranoid about Israel, which touts itself as the only democracy in the Middle East, but which has been continuing a genocide in Gaza despite a so-called ceasefire and continuing ethnic cleansing in the West Bank in Palestine, despite all these claims of peace. It has been the major aggressor in that region. It has started wars in the last 15 months on several different fronts, apart from its war in Palestine, in the occupied West Bank, and its genocide in Gaza. It started wars with Lebanon, it started wars with Syria, it's bombed Iran, etc. So, it's very much an aggressor in the region, but yet it somehow still seems to hold this very special position in the Western psyche of being the only democracy in the Middle East, which it is clearly not.
Yeah.
So, and clearly not under Mr. Netanyahu. But Israel's fears of Iran are what is largely maintaining U.S. presence on the ground in Syria. Added to that, of course, is the plan for a Turkish supported and Qatari funded oil pipeline from Azerbaijan through Syria, a trans-Syria pipeline, which would then be able to sell that oil to Western countries such as the EU. And of course, this presents a danger to another long-standing actor in Syria, that is Russia, because it presents a danger to Russia's economic interests in powering Europe, if you will. Despite Russia's current involvement in the Ukraine war, Syria is still a very geostrategically important region for Russia. And Russia will do all it can to stop that pipeline from happening.
Yeah. 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. After the break, I'll go to your calls and your WhatsApps as we continue this conversation with Aisha Kaji, who is an international relations analyst and research fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues. We're talking about Syria today and the U.S.'s military intervention in Syria. Of course, they don't want to call it an intervention. They don't want to call it a war or an occupation. But what is it? What has been the U.S.'s justification for not only the troops' presence in Syria, but the continuing bombing of targets in a sovereign country, especially if really they can see that ISIS last lost its territory back in 2019. And yet they still want to argue that the fight is still not over. What do you make of what's happening in Syria today? It's 11 minutes before 11 o'clock. Your calls and WhatsApps after this.
Horse stuff? Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You right, Savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
Well, she had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, We Buy Cars can sort you out.
Nah, Savvy, this thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from We Buy Cars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Dorf. More than one.
Don't be Dorf, be savvy. We Buy Cars. Geared for adventure, geared for you.
Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts service, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
9 minutes before 11 o'clock. It will make sense soon, I guess, why we're having this series where we look at countries that America has intervened in militarily. I mean, this Trump administration is not very shy of intervening militarily in other countries, whether it's to kidnap a president in a sovereign state or because America just wants to buy another country, in this case, Greenland, it could happen. And there are many other presidents that have come before U.S. President Donald Trump who have also almost taken not a similar posture, but in as far as military intervention is concerned, definitely the same posture. Why is that the case, and what justifications have been given in the past? Because we may be dealing with the same reasons, even in this modern day world. I've got your WhatsApps coming on 072 702 1702. So let's start there, and then we'll go back to Aisha Kaji.
Good morning, Clement. I would also add the countries where the U.S. has military bases. So they might not necessarily be under invasion, but the reality is that across the world, I think there's about 200 military bases where U.S. has their troops permanently stationed. Just next door to us, we've got Botswana, where there's a U.S. base there, and I think in Japan and all these other countries. So that is also, in a way, a form of violation of a country's sovereignty, because if, for instance, you've got foreign troops on your soil, you can never ever turn against these people because they are literally on your soil. They can attack you at any given moment. This is Koketso from Joburg.
Thanks, Koketso, but I don't think the U.S. has military bases against the will of the countries that are hosting those bases. I mean, when you look at, for instance, even in Qatar, or as you mentioned, you say Botswana, that doesn't happen against the will of the government at the time. So these are the kind of agreements that get signed, which is why even in Greenland, everybody else has been telling Donald Trump, what more do you want? If really your concern is security, you already have military presence in Greenland, and they are not against you negotiating more. If you want more military presence there and you want to strengthen and overcapacitate your soldiers, your troops on the ground. So that's always in negotiations, conversations with other countries. And I think United Nations, really multilateral principles and agreements allow for such deployment. Aisha, I don't know if you've got some thoughts about that, this question that Koketso is asking, but I also want you to just let us in on the state of Syria today. Anything has changed at all?
Actually, quite a lot in the last month and a half, to be honest. So, and this has also signaled a slight policy shift in the US as a result. So what Damascus has done under Ahmed al-Sharaa, I was mentioning the proposed Kili pipeline, that's a Trans-Syria pipeline. He has made it very clear that he wants to make Syria as self-sufficient as possible. And part of the rationale behind having that pipeline is to make Syria self-powered to a large extent and independent of other countries in terms of powering it. But he's also signaled a willingness to talk to the West. So he met with U.S. President Donald Trump early last year after the pact was signed in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and then made a state visit to the U.S. later this year, signaling that, the willingness to improve those relationships. The current situation in Syria, as I said, has undergone quite a drastic change in the last 6 to 8 weeks, with the Syrian army saying that attempts to integrate the SDF, this is the Kurdish forces, in Syrian Kurdistan, into the national army have failed, and therefore they launched quite a forceful, aggressive initiative to recapture some of those Kurdish-held territories, and have actually done so quite successfully, with the result that by January 30th, the SDF had to come to the negotiating table and accept a far more shrunken level of power or regional influence within Syria as part of the deal. And as a result of that incursion into the former Kurdish-held or SDF-held territory, which was largely, as I mentioned earlier, supported by the US, as a result of that, what has happened is that Ahmed al-Sharaa has now become, to some extent, the preferred in Damascus, the preferred negotiating partner for the US, with the US then withdrawing some of its support to the SDF. So the SDF has lost its military and, shall we say, intelligence support, or a portion of that support from the US. And at the same time, it has ceded territory to the National Army under al-Shara in Damascus. And so it's now, there are very strong fears of a recurrence of the kind of ethnic cleansing that happened in around 2019 in certain areas of Kurdish Syria. And so those fears are not without justification, but one hopes that it would not come to that, and that the US role, and indeed the role of other players such as Turkey and Qatar, will mitigate that. So the Syrian model over the last few months has been very much following the Turkish model in its relations with the PKK, which is the Kurdish faction in Turkey. So, Turkey also launched a fairly violent, aggressive, on-the-ground offensive to capture those areas under the PKK military control and then bring them to the negotiating table. It seems that al-Shara in Damascus has lifted that Turkish playbook almost verbatim. And it appears to have been successful, even though Syria itself is still in a state, somewhat in a state of chaos following its decades-long war. It certainly appears to have worked in the government's favor with regard to the SDF and the Kurdish-held territories. But that is not to say that the Shia and Sunni militias, which are anti-government, are going to be as easy to overcome. So al-Shara has pushed his focus and military attention to the Kurdish-held regions, but analysts on the ground say that there is mischief against him brewing from both Shia and other Sunni factions that are not aligned to this government.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how this is going to play out. Aisha Kaji, thank you for speaking to us. She's an international relations analyst and research fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues.
Building a life across borders starts with choices. Visas, a second passport, citizenship, your child's education abroad. And sometimes those choices can be overwhelming. For 30 years, Sable International has simplified global mobility, including cross-border tax, forex, and wealth management, helping you make the right choices with expertise and care. Build your future beyond borders. Visit us at sableinternational.com.
Municipal services are vital to keeping the city safe, clean, and functional. By paying for municipal services, such as your water bill, you're investing in Johannesburg's water supply. Paying for your services is not just a transaction. It is a commitment to your community's sustainability. Help pave the way for a brighter tomorrow, one payment at a time. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a Clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Action SA has confirmed its Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate, Xolani Khumalo, was present during the fatal shooting of a Nigerian man in what the party describes as an anti-drug operation. Police say preliminary investigations indicate that a production company was filming in Linden yesterday when members of its security team allegedly opened fire. Khumalo, who's also a well-known television presenter for a drug-busting show, was at the scene at the time of the shooting. Authorities have opened a murder case, but no arrests have been made so far. Alfara Mushwana reports.
While Action SA claims the Nigerian man who was shot in the presence of its Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate, Xolani Khumalo, was a drug dealer, police have not confirmed this. In April last year, murder charges against Khumalo were withdrawn following allegations that a suspected drug dealer was killed during the filming of his drug-busting TV show Sizokuthola. In a separate matter, Khumalo was recently granted 2,000 rand bail on charges of assault and pointing a firearm. The charges stem from an incident last year in which Khumalo and two others allegedly assaulted an adult man during an anti-drug operation. Police spokesperson Tintswalo Sibeko says police are probing the murder of a Nigerian man who was shot in Khumalo's presence yesterday.
Preliminary investigations show that there was a production company filming in the area and that there were shots fired, allegedly by the production team's security.
Meanwhile, Action SA says it will continue to support every measure to confront the violent resistance of criminals who believe they are untouchable. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Suspended head of legal at Ekurhuleni Municipality, Kemi Bihari, has taken the witness stand at the Madala Commission of Inquiry. Bihari was suspended from his job in December last year for failing to take action against Deputy Chief of Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, Julius Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi had entered the police department into a contract with the private security company of suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Kat Matlala. The contract was later found to be irregular, with police watchdog IPID recommending that disciplinary action be taken against Mkhwanazi. But Bihari sat on the report and failed to implement IPID's recommendation for more than 2 years. The Gauteng water crisis is deepening as Rand Water reduces high consumption municipalities including Johannesburg and Tshwane. The entity says usage in these metros is placing strain on its infrastructure and forcing it to operate under pressure. This reduction comes days after residents of Midrand and parts of Tshwane were left without water when the system failed following a leak. Dimakatso Lishoro has more.
Rand Water says it is particularly concerned about abnormally high consumption levels in Johannesburg and Tshwane, with usage exceeding allocated levels. The bulk water supplier says its system is under severe strain and supply will be reduced to stabilize the network. It is not yet clear if residents could face further water outages. Rand Water spokesperson Magwenya says they are meeting with municipalities to chart a way forward.
We urge all customers and consumers to use water sparingly. We strongly encourage all high water consuming municipalities to implement water saving measures.
Recent water disruptions triggered protests in Midrand and parts of Tshwane. Meanwhile, Joburg Water says supply in Midrand remains constrained with some towers on bypass. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
And 3 opposition figures close to Venezuela's Nobel Peace Laureate Maria Corina Machado have been freed from prison. This is part of the release of political prisoners following the capture of leader Nicolas Maduro. The releases come as lawmakers prepare to vote tomorrow on a historic amnesty law covering charges used to lock up dissidents during almost 3 decades of socialist rule. Some of the charges include terrorism, money laundering, and incitement to violence, as well as hatred. Gold is trading at $5,035.42 an ounce. The rand is at 15.98 to the dollar, 21.76 to the pound, 18.91 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $67.37 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got a major accident seen along the N1 South right after Rivonia Road. Is causing about a 20-minute hold-up traveling out of the Baku interchange towards Winnie Mandela Drive. While heading towards Houghton, we've got more delays on the M1 South between Glenhove Road and Houghton Drive.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 27 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Action SA has confirmed its Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate Xolani Khumalo was present during the fatal shooting of a Nigerian man in what the party describes as an anti-drug operation.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. So Action SA, as you heard on EWN, confirming that during an anti-drug operation yesterday, joined by their Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate, Xolani Khumalo, there's a shooting incident that occurred in which a Nigerian student identified as being involved in drug trafficking was shot. And as you hear from reports, it looks like he was trying to drive away as this team of anti-drug, operation officers were on the scene trying to ask him about his involvement with drugs. And in the statement, I've just read it quickly, the statement from Action SA, there's not a lot that talks to the involvement of Xolani Khumalo except to confirm that he was there. And then Action SA in the statement goes on to talk about drug syndicates and how they've terrorized our communities through violence, intimidation, and the disregard of the law, and how Action SA will continue to support every lawful measure to dismantle this scourge and confront the violent resistance of criminals. I find it interesting that, the words that they also use on the statement, because part of the challenge, part of the concern has always been, nobody says you shouldn't be fighting these drug lords or people that are selling drugs in our communities, but it also can be a law unto yourself, where you come in and because someone is accused of doing something and you're still investigating, there's no conclusive evidence, for some reason you get carte blanche to do whatever you want to do to them, because some of the people get tortured, whether those people are criminals or not. Does the law even allow for the police themselves to torture a criminal? No. So sometimes, as great as the intention may be, you've got people who end up acting like a law unto themselves. So because Clement is accused of operating in drugs, they come in, and if I'm saying I'm not involved, then they can start torturing me. Or in several cases, like we've seen before, someone ends up dying in the process. That cannot be the case. These people must be taken in, investigated, and tried. Unless, then we have to throw the rule book completely out of the window. So that's what EWN is leading with currently. I also see on my screens here, breaking news. Paul O'Sullivan is going to testify at the ad hoc committee tomorrow. And it looks like he's going to be there physically. Yeah, it says here that he's going to be there in person with full security in place. So he has finally come back from London to come and testify at the ad hoc committee. I wonder why he's decided this change of tack, because he was already saying, I'm willing to go to the embassy in London and testify from there. I guess we'll know tomorrow when he appears what made him change his mind. But that is going to be some important testimony tomorrow at the ad hoc committee. It's time now for our Family Matters feature.
7:02.
Family Matters.
So on our Family Matters feature this morning, we are discussing how to make peace with a parent or a guardian who is on their deathbed. So you've got that loved one who you can tell is about to die, whether because of sickness, age, whatever the case is. Maybe you have realized that you are running out of time, but you feel you feel the need to somehow fix things, and I say that in inverted commas, with that person. How do you do it? And I know we hear stories of, someone who was on their deathbed, who then, apologized or held your hand and said, I'm sorry, or you asked someone before they really deteriorate because you wanted some kind of closure. So you asked them about something that happened, back in the day when you were young, a violation, a betrayal of sorts. I don't know, whatever it is. Have you ever felt the need to seek peace or to forgive someone who is on their deathbed? Or has anyone on their deathbed tried to ask forgiveness from you? Because navigating the imminent death of a loved one is tough. Unfortunately, this is a moment many families eventually face, and it often comes with a mix of emotions that are hard to actually even explain. Right? For some people, it's a time of closeness, it's a time of care, of shared memories, but for others, it's very complicated. It's shaped by unresolved conflict. It's shaped by emotional distance, hurt, or relationships that never really became what they needed to be. So whether it is because of hurt, whether it is because the relationship was quite complicated, maybe there was unresolved conflict, how do you make peace with someone who's on their deathbed? And have you ever regretted not making peace with someone on their deathbed, and when they died, you started blaming yourself? I'd like you to share your experience with us on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-7021-702. Nkateko Tanga Magoro is a counseling psychologist who's going to guide us through this conversation. Nkateko, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning to your listeners.
Mm-hmm. So, what makes us want to make peace with people that are on their deathbed, from your experience and the cases you've observed also through your work? What is that reason really why we really are desperate to want to make things work or resolve something or get closure of sorts, when someone is on their deathbed?
And the key is right there, Clement. It's finding closure. So most of the time we want to have those conversations that we could not have when the person maybe was well, they were active, they were present in our lives, or even absent, mainly because we feel should they go without us ventilating those issues, will be hanging in terms of answers. Why, what happened? Why did you not protect me? I think you said in your introduction, it could have been a violation of some sort. It could have been mom or dad left and went to work somewhere, left me with uncle, but I don't have answers to why was that situation the way it was. And a surviving person, or, the imminent posture of being a survivor then says to us that I want to get those answers, because if I don't get those answers from them, who am I going to get those answers from?
Yeah. And of course, sometimes it's from the people who can see that, their time is limited as well. Sometimes they ask for forgiveness. Is it common for people to feel a sense of guilt, Nkateko, once someone has passed and they never got to hear that person apologize for that hurt, or they never got themselves to apologize to that person who was on their deathbed? Are they then consumed with guilt afterwards?
Yeah. So it will obviously be vice versa. So let's say I needed to ask for forgiveness and I could not get to it. In other situations, you will hear that somebody was about to die, but I was overseas, or I was traveling, or I was in another location, and they asked for me and I could not get there. And whatever they wanted to tell me or I wanted to tell them, I did not get to do that. So it can leave a person with guilt, with vice versa, where I was expecting that all along this person owes me an apology or needed to tell me the truth about something that I know, but I wanted to hear it from them. It can leave a surviving family member with anger, resenting the person for not telling them the truth, while they know very well what the truth is, maybe the family origins or whatever happened in the past years. And this then impacts on how we grieve. And in psychological term, we then go into, grief is a normal process of mourning a loved one. But we then go into complicated grief, or what we call complex grief. And the complexities usually are brought by how, a person passed on, if maybe we did not get time or did not get closure. Number two, it's those unsaid things, those difficult conversations. I think we spoke in December about having difficult conversations, and I mentioned that sometimes people are not even ready, even on a deathbed, they are not even ready to face that difficult question. So we might be left with the emotion of feeling very angry at this person and feeling at a loss to say, I expected better from this person, but they did not eventually do that. And that's when then, an individual will need to seek professional help to not necessarily to resolve the grief, but to unpack how they feel about the fact that they could not get any closure.
So does making peace always require forgiveness or reconciliation? Or it could
not
just
necessarily.
Let's have a conversation about what happened. Let me hear your perspective and let me tell you how that thing has made me feel. So we hear each other, but it may not, lead to one person or the next saying, I'm sorry. So does making peace always require that reconciliation and forgiveness?
It may require forgiveness, but not necessarily reconciliation. So we have to separate the two. Forgiveness is not always reconciliation. If there is an element of reconciliation, good and well, it's actually good. But with other people, we are unable to reconcile with them. But for you to find peace, forgiveness needs to be one of the requirements. So there is no way you can find peace without forgiveness. And forgiveness does not depend on a person asking for apology. It depends on you as an individual choosing to forgive the person despite of getting an apology or not.
I see. And of course, there are parents that have been emotionally unavailable, that have been abusive or absent. And there must be people listening and thinking, is it even possible to achieve peace, to achieve some level of forgiveness? And maybe you're listening to us now and your parent is not necessarily on a deathbed, but you can see, they're getting older and older, and none of us are going to live forever. And maybe one of your concern is that you haven't been able to resolve certain things with them. You haven't been able to build a much stronger bond with them. What are you most concerned about, in as far as, death becomes a fear because you really want to achieve that thing with your guardians or your loved ones before they pass away? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. And have you found yourself feeling guilty as well? Because there are some people who wanted an opportunity to resolve things with their parents or maybe grandparents. Maybe it was an aunt that raised you. You wanted to do it, but you couldn't, and now you are living with the guilt. Or maybe you were able to do it, and now you're feeling so relieved because, that part of your life is now sorted. You know that the person is gone and you are remaining with the peace and the knowledge of what transpired. And you've heard another side of the story. Give us a call to share your experience, please, on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Ngateko, is it important for people to release this idea that a parent will finally change before they die? Because that is the hope that some people have. So they are hoping that, I wish, I could be besties with my dad or with my mom. And these are people maybe that were emotional and available to them. Or they think, this particular parent was abusive growing up, but I really want things to change and I want to be best friends with them. I want to spend more time with them. Is that wishful thinking, or are there cases where that could be a possibility?
We as human beings are capable of change, most definitely. I don't think it's wishful thinking, but it also depends on who are we talking about. You can be hoping for 20 years that my parent can change. And, Clement, I hear very painful stories of children, adults who their parents become adults and they resent the fact that they take care of them while they have not, taken care of them as children. Like when you're saying this was an absent mother or an absent father, but now when they are of ill health and they are weak and they are vulnerable, this adult child now becomes the caregiver and they, care for their parents with such contempt and resentment because they wish their parent had done that for them. So I always say to them, as long as you know the motive behind why you are doing what you're doing, because if you're doing it to hope that your parent can take care of you, and this has always been how your parent is, your parents' attitude has always been like, well, I give you money for sculpting, or I give you money for school fees. What else are you looking for from me? So if your motive is not right and you're thinking that by you taking care of them in that vulnerable stage will bring you closer, will reconcile your relationship, they will love you in a way that you want to be loved, that can be damaging to your own mental health, because it could be that you, in your parents' defense, they're sending money, they're making sure you've got food on your table was a way of loving you, and that is why this conversation needs to be held within reason of hearing out the other one, if they are willing to explain themselves, and if they also do have the vocabulary to explain themselves, because other people do not even have the emotional or psychological vocabulary to explain what was happening at the time. I needed to survive, I needed to make ends meet, and therefore I could not be emotionally available. I did not have capacity, even though I wanted to, or somebody might even side, this is how I grew up, and that's all I know. So now to expect that they can be different in their very old age or closer to their dying age, it can be unreasonable to have, to force them to be different or to change unless they are willing to change.
Absolutely. All right, let's hear from our listeners now on 011-883-0702. Temba, let's start with you. You're calling from, is it Kempton Park? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Sharp, man. Go ahead.
Sure. Clement, I think I spoke to you about this some couple of years back. You touched on a subject around this one. But let me tell you what's happening with me. I grew up, with my dad, very abusive. He abused my mother, he abused us and all that. But, I let it go as life moved on, I took care of my dad. I looked after my dad. I did whatever I could possibly do as a son. And to some point, I felt like I was buying his love. He would only be happy when I get him something, or when I buy him something, or when I can provide something. But later on, I realized, this man will never ever respect me. I'm the eldest son. I was the one who was getting all the punches, basically. He would shout at me, he would scream at me, he would say things, at my old age, And I got to a point where I said, enough is enough. In actual fact, it affected me so much mentally. I had to seek therapy, to get myself back into, a proper position, if one can say so. Now, I've got to a point where I even spoke to my siblings. I had a discussion with my relatives, and they can all see how badly this man has treated me, But I've always gone back to because he's my dad. I've always gone back to try and reconcile and make the relationship work. The last straw was when I called my siblings and I said to them, look, this is the issue. I called him in as well. And I said, I've got this issue. I don't like it when dad speaks to me like this. And he stood up in front of my siblings and he said to me, and I'll say it in Veneka, saying that to an elder, to me at my age, I had about 40 something at the time. Now I've taken a decision myself. I'm not going to even entertain him anymore. I don't need him in my life. I don't care what happens to him. He's old now. He's starting to get sick. Normally, when he would be sick, I would be the first one to run around to make sure that he gets or a medical attention. Now I've taken a decision that I don't care. Whether he's sick or he's not sick, whether he dies or I die first, I don't care whether that relationship, our relationship ends at that point. Because it gets to a point where enough is enough. I've got to a point where I suffered mentally and it affected everything around me. So I've taken a decision, I don't care whether he dies or he lives or he's sick or he's okay or anything happens to him. I don't care. I've got to that point. And I know that a whole lot of people will look at me and say, but he's your dad, he's your dad. But they don't understand the amount of damage and the trauma that he has cost me, And the best thing for me, and I've said it to my siblings and to my family and to everyone, the best thing for me is to stay away from him, as much as possible.
Yeah,
and I've decided.
If that's what, and of course, Themba, you have to focus on what gives you peace, right? What's the point of telling people to just stick around even in environments that are toxic? Themba in Kempton Park, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, in Nkateko, there are some children who can see that their parents are getting old, they're getting sickly, so they will leave us at some point. But when you have tried and tried and tried, what else are you going to do? Because it does get exhausting when you've tried and still that parent doesn't see what they've done wrong, or they're not really interested in building that relationship. You're still going to be left wondering if the person even cares about you. So that affects you even more. So sometimes, like what Themba has done, you just end up walking away.
Definitely, and it is absolutely sad for things to end like this. And I can hear from Themba's description that that's not what he desired. He desired a relationship that is cordial, a closeness of some sort. But because of how his dad kept on behaving, it did then push him away. And he cited something that in society we fear a lot, being judged by society, to say, if you are not taking care of your father or your parents, who will? But I think in comments like the father made to say, it already says, I actually don't need you. In other words, in the same sentence, because so if mwana then mwana akaspona, in other words. So even in differentiating that, because sometimes then we want to be parents to our parent, and if the parent is still seeing us as a child, then let's also remain a child in that relationship. That's if they are not seeing us as an adult. So yes, it is a sad. It's sad, and the outcomes of this event and the childhood and the neglect. But there's nothing that Themba can do, as we always emphasize in our conversations, Clement, to say, you only have the power to change yourself. You don't have the power to change anyone else.
Yeah. All right, that takes us to 11:30. After the latest in Eyewitness News headlines, I'll hear from you on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Have you ever had to forgive a parent, a guardian who is on their deathbed? Is that something you've had to consider, that you're thinking about, maybe even resolving or making right by that person, or that's what they are trying? Share your experiences with us. How have you dealt with that? I can only imagine how complicated it must be. Sfiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Suspended head of legal at Ekurhuleni Municipality, Kamraj Bihari, has denied his 600,000 rand salary increase was due to him shielding senior Metro Police officers from accountability. Bihari is currently testifying before the Madala Commission of Inquiry about allegations he failed to implement disciplinary action against the corruption-accused Deputy Chief of the Metro Cops, Julius Mkhwanazi. The man accused of carrying out the murder of Warwick Stock, popularly known as DJ Waras, has abandoned his bail. Armindo Pakula, a 25-year-old Mozambican national, briefly appeared before the Joburg Magistrates Court this morning. Pakula is facing charges of premeditated murder, contravention of the Immigration Acts, and conspiracy to commit murder. And train drivers in Spain have started a nationwide strike following 2 fatal crashes recently. The protest action, which is expected to last 3 days, is said to paralyze the rail network and leave thousands of commuters and international travelers stranded. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, there's still queuing traffic on the N1 South. This is between the Baku interchange and Rivonia Road due to an earlier major accident scene. While heading towards the city of Tshwane or Midrand, do expect delays on the N1 North approaching Allendale Road. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South heading towards Houghton between Glenhove Road and Houghton Drive exit. While traveling on the M2 West, we've got an accident reported. This is near Village Main. It's along the M2 West between Heidelberg Road and Elof Street, is causing heavy traffic volumes. Please try to avoid this one if you're heading towards areas like the Joburg CBD as well as Amalgam. And then traveling in Boksburg, we still have got roadworks taking place, in fact causing delays along the N17 in both directions. This is between the R23 and Rondebolt Road. Please drive with care or try to use the N12 instead to try and navigate your way around these delays. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned for more.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Get your brain in the game, because the brain of 702 is back with your chance to flex your general knowledge smarts. There's 3,000 Rand up for grabs every day, and Brain of the Week wins 10,000 Rand plus a spot in the finals to compete for the grand prize of 30,000 Rand cash. Enter on primemediaplus.com now. Then catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and 702 Drive with John Pellman for your chance to be the brain of 702. T's and C's and more on primemediaplus.com.
It's 2026 and the Haval H7 is here to celebrate the urban adventurer in you. Available in 4x2, 4x4 and a hybrid electric engine for enhanced performance and everyday versatility. The H7 is yours from only 7,699 per month.
Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Smart Steve from Momentum. Hello.
Stevie, it's Clinton Myers, the Minister of National Treasures.
Mr. Minister, how can Momentum Insure help you?
This economy is not helping with the cost of my gusheshe, my tires, man.
Just get Momentum Insure's safety returns and get up to 30% cash back, even if you claim.
Is it true?
Stru's Bob, Mr. Minister. Visit momentum.co.za or call 0860 006 784. Momentum Insure, keeping you safe on your journey to success. Momentum Insure is an authorized non-life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Progress builds, it moves, and it has a partner. That partner is Anglo American. Together, we're building progress where it matters most across South Africa, with 1.6 billion Rand unlocked for entrepreneurs through our Impact Finance Network and 25.9 billion Rand invested through our Kumba Iron Ore business into infrastructure development, healthcare, community upliftment, and more. These are just a few examples that show when collaboration is real, progress moves faster. As a proud sponsor of the Investing in African Mining Indaba, we are working with our partners to unlock mining's full potential. South Africa has a partner, Anglo American, mining potential, building beyond.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
BTIC Minister Parks Tao, he signed that framework agreement with China that will get our companies duty-free access to Chinese markets by the end of March.
So we are opening up to new trade avenues, but we are going to be recipients of other products that come into our own economy from China, which domestic companies might not be able to compete with. So there are opportunities and risks depending on how the trade deals are structured.
Azam Flangas, the chief economist.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB, returning as proud investment theme sponsor of the African Mining Indaba 2026. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702.
Family Matters.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're talking about how to make peace with a parent or a guardian who is on their deathbed. Have you been in a situation where there are unresolved issues with your mom, with your dad, that you felt the need to resolve before they die? Because you can see that that's where things are headed. How have you dealt with things like that? And how did you find that conversation? And maybe for some of you, you were able to have peace with someone who ended up dying and you feel like you've offloaded. Or you couldn't do it and now you feel guilty that you were not able to figure out whether the person regrets what they've done or exchange, words of forgiveness. How have you dealt with dynamics like this in your family? Let's start with your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Good morning, Clement and 702 listeners. What a very sensitive topic and emotional that you are touching there. Clement, as your caller has rightfully said, it takes, I don't know what it takes, but for most people, coming from the old school parents who doesn't even recognize in your own house, they will tell you where to get off in your own house. They don't even give you that respect of you are now a person. They want to rule, they want to control, they want to manipulate. How do one forgive such? It's Max here. Honey Joe.
Oh, thank you so much, Max. I mean, what he's essentially asking, Kateko, is how do I forgive parents, who continue to do that even in their old age? And these are parents that are aging and who will be dying soon. But then the question then is, have the parents asked for forgiveness, or have the parents themselves realized what they're doing is wrong? Or is it maybe the son who sees it as wrong, but that conversation hasn't taken place? Also to hear if the parents have a way of justifying it or have a way of trying to maybe even make corrections.
And that's if they are able to make corrections, a big if, because if it's continuing, and as such as your previous caller, Temba, who might have even given up on expecting that anything can happen. So what I can say to Max, he's asking, how can I even forgive? We need to realize that forgiveness does not depend on the other person, whether the person realizes that they are wrong, whether they ask for forgiveness. Forgiveness is for ourselves. It is to free ourselves from the entanglement of the other person and an expectation. Because essentially, if we look at just not being, the unforgiveness, I think it's holding on, hoping that justice can happen. When I'm speaking about justice, is a individual realizing, oh, I was wrong, I did you wrong, please forgive me. And that's when then we hold on to that. But oftentimes it does not happen. And as you're also saying, Clement, that other times people are not even aware that what they are doing is wrong. I mean, you remember Jesus on the cross, he said, forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they're doing. So that's basically where I base forgiveness from. I base it from sometimes people are not even aware, or even if you make them aware, they don't see the wrong in what you have made them aware. They think you are the one who needs, the treatment versus them who needs to change. So let not forgiveness depend on the other person's actions. Let it be about you. I want to release this person. They are heavy in my heart. They are heavy in my mind. They come in my dreams, or whatever the case might be. I am going to let go of them coming to ask for forgiveness. I'm going to let go of them changing their ways.
Malene, you're calling us from Johannesburg. Good morning.
Morning, Clement.
Hey.
Yes.
What's your story? What's your experience?
Yes, my father disowned me at 14. I'm 34 years old now. Because I wanted a relationship with my mother. And that abandonment shaped how I understand trauma, forgiveness, as well as resilience. Yeah, so my parents divorced when I was 9. And then I lived with my grandmother, and then eventually with my father. So at 14, I started asking to see my mom. And then I realized that wanting my mother became the reason I was rejected by my dad.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was told I could visit my mom after, I attempted suicide. I was hospitalized and they recommended a psychologist. And then I was open with her, told her my story, and she brought my father in as well. He was resistant, but eventually he agreed that I could visit his mom. So on the day that I was supposed to be dropped off at my mom, the car was idling in the parking lot. I asked if we're leaving. He says, no, we need to go and pour fuel first. And they left and never came back after a week. So I was abandoned and had to find my way to my mother alone. And that was the moment I realized that a parent can be there, physically, but emotionally gone. So I eventually went to my mom. It was a huge shift for me because she lived in a township. My father was well off. We went to private schools, and I had to go to a township school. I had to start over, new home, new school, new environment. And I felt unwanted, and I carried that trauma into my adolescence. And so I finished school despite the odds. I educated myself. I started at an FET college, and I completed. Eventually volunteered in community radio, got an opportunity to go and do a course at a radio academy. And I built a life without his support. He passed away 3 years ago. And I attended the funeral. And the closure came from acceptance, not necessarily to reconcile. I feel like I've forgiven him. In my early 20s, that's when I realized that, it's not going to happen. I need to start my own life. And that's exactly what I did. And it wasn't about excusing him. It was basically freeing myself from all those emotions.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
So if anyone's listening out there, you're carrying that trauma, your beginning does not get to decide your ending.
Absolutely. Yeah, Marlene, thank you for sharing that with us. So she has accepted what happened and the decisions that the dad took, not so much from the conversation they've had or the dad saying sorry, but her just accepting that, well, he's gone and it is what it is. Marlene, thank you for that. Lebogang, you're in Protea Glen. Hi.
Hi, Clement. I stayed with my aunt for, I think it was 8 months.
Yeah.
But the 8 months seemed like 8 years. I have scars where she threw a fork from a pan that was full of oil. So she threw that fork and it landed on my hand. I had horrible eczema. So they didn't know what eczema was back then. So they just thought there was something very wrong with me and my siblings. So we were not supposed to use the beds. We were supposed to sleep on the floor. And this one night, my aunt was not there with her kids. So my siblings and I slept on the bed that her kids used. And she was furious when she came back early. Needless to say, Clement, she got sick. I went to see her. She didn't apologize. We buried her.
Is this when she was sick?
I'm okay. She got sick.
Yeah, she didn't apologize. Did you ask her to? Did you tell her how her actions made you feel, or you just wanted her to be an adult and start the conversation?
She was too sick for me to do that.
Okay.
And when somebody's that sick, you seem inhumane to come and ask those things at that point. But I thought her seeing me, because she cried when she saw me, but I thought she would just say, I'm sorry, even if she wouldn't get into details of what happened. But she didn't say anything. And as a result, today, even when there are family gatherings, even when somebody's saying stuff about her, I tend not to say the bad stuff that she did, because I always say she's not here to defend herself. And I've moved on. I'm going to be the best aunt I can be to my nieces and nephews. I don't know if they'll receive it as being a good aunt, But that is what I want to do. As for what my aunt did, I don't know where she is. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know if she's answering for what she did here. But I cannot do stuff and say, I'm doing this because this is what my aunt did.
Yeah,
whatever she did it for her. She has her own reasons as to why she did everything that she did. It hurt, but I need to move on for my own peace
Yes,
of mind.
and you can learn from also the mistakes that she has made or how she had treated you. And as you say, I love how you're using that as inspiration to actually be a better aunt you can be, Lebogang. Thank you for that call. Yeah, Nkateko, so as we can hear, there are other people who will choose to just accept the situation and not really want to ask for that forgiveness or even have a conversation when their parents are on their deathbed. It's a matter of them just accepting and forgiving without an apology.
Yeah. And I think that's an emotionally mature approach, both from Lebogang and Malene. Thank you very much for those reflections and those calls. And Malene also spoke about that's what builds resilience. Yes, it's negative situations, but also it made her to be independent, to be strong, maybe to even approach life in a different way versus how she might have approached it, having grown up in her father's household. So, and you know, many people think that when you forgive or you let go, you are okaying the action of the other. That's not the case. And that's why sometimes people don't forgive. They think that you are saying it's okay what you did. And I think Malene also spoke about that to say, I'm not excusing that person's actions. So you are not excusing anybody's actions in forgiving, but you are saying, I'm not going to let it impact on me. I'm not going to let it, paralyze me from doing life, from experiencing life, from having joy, and just being bitter about the situation and angry for the rest of my life, or even angry at the future generations, like Lebogang has already mentioned. And you know, at times we might feel this is very common, Clement, where when somebody's ill, we might spare them from further pain to not have the conversation. And I want to also bring a different angle to say you need to judge in you maybe wanting to confront the person, especially in their, while they are dying or in their deathbed or while they are very ill, to say, what do I want to gain from this? If you are not going to gain a conversation that is fruitful, you will rather than talk it out somewhere else in other safer spaces, because it's not going to help for you to confront somebody who is, let's say they are twitching and, they are maybe choking from your words, maybe trying to speak to you back, whether they want to ask for apology or they want to explain themselves. So sometimes we need to also be mindful and mature. I'm not saying we should not confront, but we also need to gauge, is this is this going to be fruitful or is this going to be fruitless?
Yeah, is the environment conducive or not? Absolutely makes sense. It's 10 minutes before 12.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on. Save extra on new deals every week, like Steakhouse Classic Beef Rib Kanya Roast for $179.99 per kilo. Coca-Cola Original Taste Less Sugar Soft Drink 2 litres, 2 for 45 Rand. And Ariel Laundry Liquid Detergent 3 litres or capsules, 14, 21 or 30 per pack. Buy any 2 and save 30%. Valid until 15 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
You could show your bank balance some love this month with awesome car insurance savings from our insurance, like 43-year-old Gloria, who saves an unbelievable 513 Rand on her 2024 Audi Q3. Get a quote now, and if our insurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you have been claim free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
You may not know this, but that genius, Albert Einstein, he never wore socks. which proves that even the smartest people aren't always smart. But you can shop like an absolute genius at Decofern Furniture with unbeatable deals on office chairs, desks, and much more. Plus up to 50% off end-of-range items. Work smarter, study smarter, and definitely shop smarter at Decofern Furniture right now, in-store or at decofernsa.co.za.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
702.
Family Matters.
8 minutes before 12.
Hi, morning, Clement Manyathela, your guest. Regarding this topic, I had an uncle who we didn't see eye to eye. And when he was sick, first time I saw him, he was okay. But to me, it felt like everything just went out of the window because I didn't see him as this person that I used to not see eye to eye because of the state he was in. And then the second time I saw him, I was with my son, and he was so happy. And then a few months later, they called me and said he passed on. And then I felt peace to say that I did not hold any grudge against him. I just want his peace. And the way he was so happy to see my son, I was like, yeah, that's how life is.
Yeah, hey. And then on the WhatsApp line, Anonymous says, "Hi, Clement. My father was incarcerated in the 1980s when I was very young. Around that time, my mother left me with my grandparents who raised me and supported me all the way through school and university. My mother re-entered my life while I was at university, but our relationship remained distant. To this day, I struggle with deep feelings of abandonment. I've tried to build a relationship with her, but I've never fully forgiven her for leaving. I'm now married with children of my own, and she expects me to support her financially. This feels unfair, especially since I've explained that I'm under financial strain myself. Her demands reopen old wounds and anger linked to the abandonment. I've recently chosen to keep my distance to protect my peace, and as I feel that she's more interested in what I can provide than in truly knowing me as a child. I want to heal and move forward, but I just don't know how to do that while carrying this pain." So that's one person on the WhatsApp line. Another one says, "Clement, I want to remain anonymous. I also echo the sentiments of the gentleman who called from Kempton Park. I have given up on building or fixing the relationship with my father. After him surviving a near-death experience, me saving his home and many other things, he apologized to my brother, sisters, and our mother for abandoning her with us and taking care of his girlfriend's kids, and told me I'm useless. Anything I do now that benefits him is because of my mother." Another message says, "Hi Clement, interesting topic. Mine is different. I have deep harbored resentment towards my dad for the trauma he caused me by abusing my mom when I was younger. I have a good relationship with him now, but I feel like I can only confront his actions when he's on his deathbed. I've forgiven him, quote unquote, but I only want to address it when I know that he won't be living much longer." Yeah, and as you heard Nkateko say, you must still choose, it must still be a conducive environment. So, because what's the point of speaking to someone if they're not going to be able to engage you, or they're going to feel ambushed and they're not going to entertain the conversation that you want to have? Is this something you advise, Nkateko, for Anonymous who says,
Yeah.
"I've forgiven my dad,
Yeah.
but I want to have the conversation with him when he's on his deathbed"?
Yeah. And I don't think it is. Obviously, Anonymous is basing their approach on what they know. how the parent is going to react, and maybe the feelings that they don't want to get from when the parent react, or even retaliate or become defensive from their approach. Again, quoting from the Bible, it says, if possible, as far as it depends on us, live at peace with everyone. Yes, I'm not minimizing the fact that with the other person, they might make it difficult for us to be at peace with them, but we need to ensure that they know that, number one, we have forgiven them. So I think it would be great for Anonymous to say, hey, Dad, this is what happened. And here, when I talk about confrontation, it does not need to be verbal. They can write an email that they schedule send maybe for the next month or 2 or 3 or even a year. Obviously, we don't know how many days does the father have to leave, but that in that way, then they make the confrontation to be less, intimidating, especially when they are afraid that the father is going to then be defensive or even say words that are undesirable. So I think in this way, Anonymous know why they only want to confront them then, but it is not necessarily going to be conducive. I think writing a letter, maybe post-dating the letter via email where you can schedule send, can be
maybe that's
a lot
right
better
solution
than leaving it until then.
Nkateko Dagamagoro, counseling psychologist, thank you so much for making time for us.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Aren't you tired of hearing how tough every bucky is? Tough this, tougher that, and being tougherer. But what about a bucky that's actually evolved? Confidence when you need it. Modern comfort because you deserve it. And next-gen tech that's, well, just smarter. Introducing the Chang'an Hunter range from only 5,299 Rand per month. Test drive SA's better balanced bucky today. T's and C's apply.
Chang'an, driven to evolve.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra presents its Valentine's Gala concert with music to melt your heart. Conducted by Daniel Boyko, the concert features award-winning pianist Charles Duplessis and showcases South Africa's ballroom champions. Saturday, 14th February at 7 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets at Quicket.
Coming up
On the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Mandy, good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
What's popping today?
So there's a focus on Ekurhuleni at the Madala Commission today. The suspended head of legal is giving evidence at the moment. Then we'll speak to the police about the story that developed over the weekend. Sure, twists and turns. The death by suicide of Viandre Pretorius linked to the Madala Commission. We finally have some clarity on Paul O'Sullivan. He's going to testify at the ad hoc committee tomorrow, apparently under full security and in person. So we'll find out about that. The DJ Waras murder accused has decided to drop his bail bid. And then plenty of sport this weekend. Did you watch the football last night?
No, I didn't watch anything this weekend.
You just played the things.
Yeah, I just played them instead of watching. All right, that's what's coming up on the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Thanks for listening to the Monday edition of the show. We'll be back tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Suspended head of legal at Ekurhuleni Municipality, Kemraj Bihari, has denied his 600,000 salary increase was due to him shielding senior Metro police officers from accountability. Bihari is currently testifying before the Madala Commission of Inquiry over allegations he failed to implement disciplinary action against